In the annals of human conflict, no war has been as vast, as destructive, or as consequential as the Second World War. It was a global conflagration that consumed nations, a struggle between democracy and dictatorship, between light and an advancing darkness. For 6 long years, the fate of the world hung in the balance. This is the story of how the Allies, a grand, often uneasy coalition of nations, managed to achieve victory against seemingly insurmountable odds. It is a story not of a single battle or a lone weapon, but of a complex tapestry woven from industrial might, strategic genius, unparalleled bravery, and the unbreakable will of people who refused to surrender their freedom. The road to victory was paved long before the first shots were fired, not on battlefields, but in the factories and shipyards of the nations that would form the Allied coalition. The United States in particular possessed an economic power that was nothing short of phenomenal. Once its industrial machine was converted to a war footing, it became the arsenal of democracy, producing ships, planes, tanks, and trucks at a rate the Axis powers could scarcely comprehend. In a single year, America produced more aircraft than Japan did in the entire war. This staggering output supplied not only its own forces, but also those of Great Britain and the Soviet Union through programs like Lend-Lease. The Soviet Union itself performed a miraculous feat of industrial evacuation, moving entire factories east of the Ural Mountains, out of reach of German bombers, where they churned out the tanks and guns that would eventually crush the Wehrmacht. This economic and industrial disparity was a fundamental war-winning advantage. Germany and Japan simply could not keep pace with the relentless tide of Allied production. While industrial might provided the tools, it was the strategic decisions of the Allied leadership that directed their use. The Big Three, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin, formed an unlikely and often fractious alliance, but they agreed on a core strategic principle: Germany first. Despite the outrage at Pearl Harbor, the Allies determined that the most dangerous enemy, Nazi Germany, must be defeated before focusing fully on Japan. This grand strategy guided the entire war effort. Furthermore, Allied commanders mastered the art of combined arms warfare, seamlessly integrating infantry, armor, artillery, and air power in a way the Axis eventually could not match. They learned from early defeats, adapted their tactics, and produced commanders like Eisenhower, who brilliantly managed the complex egos and armies of the coalition, and Zhukov, who orchestrated the massive, crushing Soviet counteroffensives on the Eastern Front. The war was not won by brute force alone. In the shadows, a secret war was fought, and here too the Allies gained a decisive edge. The most famous achievement was the British breakthrough at Bletchley Park, where a team of codebreakers, including Alan Turing, cracked the German Enigma cipher. This intelligence, codenamed Ultra, provided the Allies with an unprecedented window into German plans and movements, saving countless lives and contributing directly to victories in the Battle of the Atlantic and the D-Day landings. Similarly, American codebreakers unraveled Japanese naval codes, leading to the pivotal victory at Midway. Beyond signals intelligence, the Allies became masters of strategic deception. Operations like Bodyguard and Fortitude successfully misled the Germans about the location of the D-Day landings, convincing Hitler that the main invasion would come at the Pass de Calais, thereby pinning down critical German reserves far from the actual beaches of Normandy. The Eastern Front was the largest and most brutal theater of the war, a conflict of annihilation where the majority of German military casualties occurred. Here the Soviet Union bore the brunt of the Nazi war machine and, in doing so, played the single greatest role in breaking its back. The early years were catastrophic for the Soviets, with millions of soldiers captured in massive encirclements. But the Red Army learned, adapted, and endured. The victories at Stalingrad and Kursk were not just tactical successes, they were strategic earthquakes from which the German army never recovered. The Soviet war effort was fueled by a deep, patriotic fervor and a ruthless determination for survival. The cost was unimaginable. Over 27 million Soviet citizens perished, but their immense sacrifice drained the German army of its strength and momentum, creating the conditions for the great offensives that would eventually carry the Red Banner to Berlin. While the Soviets thought their titanic struggle in the East, the Western Allies opened the crucial Second Front. The D-Day landings on June 6, 1944 were a masterpiece of planning, logistics, and raw courage. The success of Operation Overlord, followed by the grueling battle of attrition in the Normandy hedgerows and the eventual breakout, signaled the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany in the West. The Allied advance across France and into Germany, though met with fierce resistance like the Battle of the Bulge, was relentless. This two-front war stretched German resources to the breaking point. They could no longer shuttle divisions from the quiet Western Front to plug gaps in the East. They were now caught in an inescapable vice. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, the war against Japan followed a different but equally decisive trajectory. After stemming the Japanese advance at the Battle of the Coral Sea and delivering a devastating blow to the Japanese carrier fleet at Midway, the Allies embarked on a massive island-hopping campaign. This strategy, masterminded by Admiral Nimitz and General MacArthur, bypassed heavily fortified Japanese positions, seizing key islands to establish airfields and naval bases that strangled Japan's supply lines and brought its home islands within range of American bombers. The ferocious fighting at Tarawa, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa demonstrated the Japanese military's willingness to fight to the last man, making the prospect of a direct invasion of Japan a terrifying one. It was this grim calculation, alongside a desire to end the war quickly and demonstrate American power to the Soviet Union, that led President Harry S. Truman to authorize the use of a new, terrible weapon, the atomic bomb. The destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, coupled with the Soviet declaration of war and invasion of Manchuria, finally compelled Japan's surrender, bringing the Second World War to a close. The Allied victory in World War II came at a cost almost beyond comprehension. An estimated 70 to 85 million people lay dead. Entire cities across Europe and Asia were reduced to rubble. The world had witnessed the depth of human cruelty in the Holocaust and countless other war crimes. But from this abyss emerged a new world order. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, their rivalry defining the next half-century in the Cold War. The United Nations was established to prevent future global conflicts. The map of the world was redrawn, old empires crumbled, and new nations emerged. The war also unleashed technological and social revolutions, from the jet engine and the computer to the push for civil rights and decolonization. The Allies won the greatest war in history not merely through force of arms, but through a combination of economic power, strategic wisdom, scientific brilliance, and, above all, the collective resolve of millions of people who believed that a world of tyranny was a world not worth living in. Their victory saved humanity from a dark age, and its legacy continues to shape our world today.